Hi friend, welcome back to my channel. I am going to try to do this vlog without the mic. I don't know how much I enjoy it or how effective it is. I've used the mic in my last two videos and they've gotten really poor views. I don't know if it's because no one is yet interested in my writing or if it's the sound quality. I know that is a thing that turns people off. So for this one, we're going to do mic free. But if you are new here, hello, I am Dr. Quindle Jones. I am an applied mathematician in my late 20s, and I talk about how I use my systems expertise to design my dream life, a life that feels good. So I talk a lot about systems and productivity, healthy habits, general life lessons, and now especially my writing journey. So I wanted to film this video today. It is Sunday, February 22nd, because I've made a lot of progress since my last writing vlog about a month ago. I filmed it on January 20th, I believe, and so it's been a month since then, and I just want to recap everything I have thought through since then over today. I won't do it all in the singular moment, but I will start sharing some of it now. I have sort of planned out what I want to share going forward, and I also have planned out my goals this year for how much of the book I want to complete, etc. I've been talking about it more in person, and others seem interested in the journey as well, in the concept, so I'm just feeling a lot of hype towards it. So I'm gonna absolutely keep documenting the journey. I'm writing a speculative trilogy called the ECHOE Project, where it is a world in the future where photos can come to life. And this is a world where then photography and etc. is regulated. So then when our main character, Jade, a black 27-year-old girl, has one of her photos accidentally activate, her life unravels. And there are many truths that are revealed in that unraveling. And I am very obsessed with the concept. There's so much both scientific and also magical realism going on in the world building that I've done so far. And the more I've gotten into actually drafting it through prose, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot through reading, so that's all I want to talk about. I just want to talk about my draft one updates today, and of course get in my writing time for the day. I have not written in the last 2 days, to be quite frank, because I have been focusing on YouTube things, and just last week was a very sad week, so it was not a big writing week, but I am actually filming multiple videos this week to try to get myself back into the flow of all the things I enjoy. So starting with my hair, I believe I already debuted my haircut in a different video, but I kind of wolf cut my hair in layers. So this is where we are with the vibes. As I've been working on everything, I have been updating what I'm learning as I go. So I have this full document for everything I've done throughout January and February, and now I have been about 6,000, 7,000 words into my first draft, and I've made some changes. I've made some changes to the outline. Once I was able to fill in the lore of everything, I got mad excited, and I had to zoom back in. Like, that was me zooming out to what the fuck is she working on, and then I had to zoom back in on, okay, well, she's at work and this is what she's working on, so let's go back to her day. And I had to reacquaint myself with like her mannerisms, her train of thought, what she's doing. Once I get back to her day in the life, I had to think more about other characters, which I have thought about. So we'll talk about it. My tea is cooled down now though, and I want to journal, and I need to figure out my flow of process. Y'all, I've recorded a morning routine vlog, I've recorded days in the life, and I had a whole very set morning routine in Q4 of 2025, but since becoming a writer, I've been struggling to figure out where to fit writing into my life. Like, I filmed that writing routine, and the idea what I observed from that was that I've been writing a lot at night after work, and while I don't hate that, it has become a problem because it leads me to write for a lot longer than I intend, which isn't a problem except for the fact that I gotta go to bed, you know. So I would like to do it in the morning, but where in the morning? There's already so much I do in the morning with my journaling, my bullet journal, and my working out, my reading. Like, it's requiring so many hours and I've yet to get my evening routine together. So it's just like, should I have it in with all the morning stuff? Should I keep it as an evening thing? And right now I'm just kind of doing whichever fits, like whichever vibe fits best. Like if I have the time before work, I'm like, oh, I still got enough time, okay, let me do it. But that doesn't feel very like immersive and fun. And then at night, it's totally fine, but it takes some intentional immersion into like, let me read a book, let me calm down, let me like, and then it's 3 hours later. So figuring that out still, but we'll talk about it. My brother called me mid-reading, and actually I have now been influenced to go get breakfast. I was not going to get breakfast. I've actually gone to the same restaurant for the last 2 days every morning, and I have no shame. I'm sorry. I'm going to go for a third day in a row. I mean, if I were to pull up to Wendy's every day, you wouldn't judge me. But if I go to the same restaurant 3 days in a row, is it judgeable? Probably. Do I care? A little bit, but not really, because I'm giving you money, okay? You're getting money from me. It's not like, it's not a fair trade. Anyway, neither here nor there. Before I go, I want to go get some breakfast and continue reading. I'm finally like into the groove of the book. I'm fucking with the premise. I did not realize it was in hell. I mean, it tells you that in the back, but I did not realize that. I'm gonna read the back because I just want you to see. Books that aren't finished by their authors reside in the library of the unwritten in hell. Very top sentence, LMAO. Gotta read things when you buy them, friends. But when restless characters who emerge from those unfinished stories escape, it is up to the librarian to track them down and keep the collection complete. And that's exactly what's been happening in this. What chapter am I on? I'm like on chapter 5. On chapter 5, and that's what's been happening. And at first, you know, there was a lot of type feels, but now I'm like, all right, I'm following along. It feels like I'm reading Lucifer, but like its own thing. You know, if you've watched the show Lucifer, where there's like angels come down, Lucifer's like a person, hell is like a place, in a realism way and not just in a theoretical Bible way. That's what I mean. And so reading this feels like Lucifer was in a book, but then like about books. I don't know. I'm fucking with it, basically. I want to read some more, but I want to go get food. I was going to make food, but I don't want to make food. These are things I'll talk about in the other video I'm filming this week about getting my life together. But we're going to talk about the other updates I've made in the book so far. So I zoomed back in on Jade's life. So if I'm looking away, it's because I have the list in front of me. So originally chapter 1 was a day in the life, and then it was going to lead into her going to her family's home the very next morning. But then I kind of broke that apart where I felt like chapter 1 was too long, so I broke chapter 1 into 2 chapters. So chapter 3 is her going into her visit her family. But because of that, I was like, oh, well then I guess I need to think of them as real people and not just props, you know? And I ended up just one day when I was at work, probably like mid-meeting, I think, mind mapping out the different characters in relation to Jay. Like, who are the co-workers that have names and how many don't need names? Who's her father, her dad? Does she have siblings? Does she have any friends? Stuff like that. And so I then created minimalist character dossiers for each of them. So in total, how many characters are there? let's see, there's Jade, Onyx, River, her dad, her mom, her brother, her aunt, 2 co-workers, and the bad guy. So 10 people, 10 dossiers I made for the characters, and just like, who are they, their relation to her, what does she want from them, what do they want to her, how do they fit in the plot? And that's just like what I jotted down for each one. And now I want to visualize all of these things. I actually made a character map of what I just said. I wrote it down and then I turned it into a physical thing. Then I got back to drafting that first chapter, what was originally the first chapter, where she's the day in the life, finishing up at work, getting triggered at work, that moment of trigger and the flashback, her leaving work, and the trigger was her friendship with Leah. So I don't know if I've said this yet, but like the photo that comes to life for her is her dead best friend. And yeah, that's inspired by many things in my life. I don't have a best friend that's dead, but my niece it was originally my niece, but I feel like talking about like a young family member that died would have been too close, so I decided on a peer, and the hardest hitting one would be a best friend. And so yeah, when all of the grief and things come from this relationship, her and her bestie. And so when I was thinking of, oh, I need to do a flashback, like if I'm going to trigger her, we need to see some of that relationship, I had to think through the relationship. Like I had already thought through in my World Bible how they connected. Like they met at college, they graduated as besties. After college, I thought through of like, were they close? Did they live in the same place? Like trying to just map out the pieces and like how Jade would be impacted by her death. But then when I thought about having to write a flashback, I was like, oh, I need to now think of their friendship in scenes. Like I thought of their friendship dynamic and their timeline, but then I had to think of those as scenes. Like, okay, maybe there's a scene of them meeting each other, there's a scene of them going out. You know, I want it to be realistic to my life as a Black girl from HBCU. So going out to the quad, meeting each other, graduation. There's like a list of like 12 at least memories between the two of them that I just felt like were realistic and inspired by things I've experienced having Black womanhood friendships. And then as I was thinking through those scenes, and I was also watching some vlogs, I feel like 2 people talked about dead pets or just a pet. One was a pet and one was a dead pet, and I was like, oh, you know what? I think giving her a pet would decrease but also emphasize her lonely. Like, and I was also thinking through scenes, and I was like, oh, what if her bestie convinced her to get the dog? What if that's one of the scenes that we get where we see, you know, Leah convincing her that she's worth companionship, that she's worth love, and that this is a I don't want to give it all away. But yeah, like Leah was the bubbly extrovert, I think it's the golden retriever of the friendship, and Jade is the black cat. Leah is dead. And so in a way, Leah was like, you need your own kind of golden retriever. That's not the dog she had, but you need something to help push you out of your introverted shell. You slowly begun to, but maybe if you get a dog, it'll help you go outside and meet more people. And so I feel like that's something Leah really would say to her. And it also becomes like her dog will then become very easy to slip into the narrative, and not necessarily a reminder of her death, but more a reminder of when her life was good. Like walking the dog with Leah, getting the dog with her, the dog being a reminder of the possibility of brightness in her life and the bright spot in her life. And so also that her isolation doesn't seem so, I don't know, dramatic, like she's sitting in the dark in her home. Like I don't really want that vibe. But more so just like, you know, she has a dog curled at her feet, she's thinking through her memories, she's dealing with stuff. The dog does push her outside and cause interactions and stuff. And so I feel like, yeah, it was a very seamless thing. Then I had to look up what kind of dogs fit in the DMV, like what kind of dogs would thrive in the DMV, what kind of dogs need to be out, but which ones would also be okay for like someone who needs to stay at home. Half inspo for me for when I get a dog, but also for her. So yeah, his presence is less grief companion and more life companion, who survives this grief with her and becomes like an anchor in her life. And so then I had to update the chapters outline to include the dog, because like I outlined things with just her being by herself, but like with the dog, okay, so there's a scene walking the dog, there's a scene that, well, they're, you know, cuddled up together. There's just like textured moments like to figure out how he would fit into the environment of her home, because her home is another central location where things will unravel and it needs to be very real and lived in. So yeah, that helped me figure out the dog and the other characters. So that's 11 characters total that I had to think through, and it just made it feel even more lived in. Like I already had the, like, I don't play video games, but I think of video games. I think they're called RPGs. I had a conversation with someone about this like a couple days ago. She's a big gamer, and I was trying to figure out the genres of games, and I was making up stuff. She was like, that's not a real genre, but sure. But the kind where I think it's RPGs where you're like building the world. So you have the landscape, and then you have the little characters, you have the rules and interactions, right? And so I feel like I had the rules and interactions and I had the landscape, but now that I filled in the character, the Sims, it feels real, like much more real to me. And then as I was finishing 10,000 Doors of January in my like reading blog, I realized a few things. Firstly, I realized that I really wanted to have I think I might have mentioned this before, but I realized that I wanted to have some kind of documentation that Jade doesn't know about as part of the story. So how like in the side series in January, and there's another book. What's the other book? I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but like where in between chapters or at the start of a chapter, there's like a journal entry from some important being or organization that fills in the story, but is not known to the main character, but the audience knows. And I just love that as a tool. And also in January, like you could, it's the end of Mr. White, where they're reading or watching something and it's like you're reading that thing, and so there's like a shift in font and page size where it's like, all right, this is the thing they're reading and this is the actual book. And I really fuck with that, and I feel like that could be very informative for the kind of world I'm building. So what if I have documents interspersed throughout the book that kind of feed the bigger world theory outside of Jade's POV? So that's something I think I'm definitely going to do. Still something I got to figure out how to do, but definitely a goal. And then also reading January and then reading this, I was like, you know, these books have hooks. People talk about hooks on social media all the time and stuff, but it wasn't until I started reading this one, and then I remember at the start of January where I was like, these start with things happening. Like, they don't start with like quiet reflection like my first chapter was. They start with like, this is what's happening right now. We're in the middle of a task. I just found this. I just did that. And it's like, oh, okay, what's going on? Huh? And I grabbed like this book and like the four, I don't know if you can't see them. I grabbed all the books like on that top shelf there, and I just read the first 3 pages, and I was like, yeah, these all start with something happening. And mine does not start with something happening. Something doesn't really happen until like chapter 4. And that's not good pacing. That would not hook someone to want to keep reading. They'd be like, okay, that's what I was feeling, you know, as a reader and a writer. And so then I was like, damn, I need to add something before my current chapter, you know? I need to set up some tension immediately. I need something to happen at the start. And so I had to go back to my world document, my world Bible, and use my lore to think of a good hook. Like, it has to be relevant to the bigger themes. And basically, I had started chapter 1 before with her already working on the project, like being in the midst of it. But that wasn't like very actionable or didn't have much interaction with the world or other people. And I also noticed a lot of these books open with dialogue of some sort, like talking to people in the middle of something, whatever. And so I was like, I need a hook that both introduces the lore, has her talking to someone, and opens like tension. What I've come up with is, instead of her already working on it, maybe it opens with her being assigned the project, and being assigned the project because something went wrong. Something went wrong with someone else working on it. And so now she's being assigned it, and it's like, you know, she's gonna freak out about that, feel the pressure, feel the whatever, and then also kind of investigate what went wrong, and like she's gonna feel nervous about being assigned it, because if it were wrong for someone else, it could go wrong for her. So like immediately adding tension, immediately having interaction with someone else, giving her the project, and also just painting a picture of what she is feeling in relation to that. And it just introduced the stakes immediately as well. Like we have stakes, we have tension, we have lore, we have a dialogue. Like I feel like it's a much better opening than what I had before. What I had before was really like sad girl vibes, and I think that can still work as a second chapter, but I think as far as like hooking the audience, this is a lot better, and also kind of starts the novel, like I said, with an incident, something happening. And so I had a goal for last week to finish doing scene level setup for Act 1 and Act 2. And in understanding this change in the hook, I had to move my current Chapter 1 down to Chapter 2, which moved, you know, everything else. And I had to think of the scenes for this new chapter, like the first scene of her in her boss's office being assigned this, the scene of her freaking out, the scene of her, you know, decompressing, the scene of her maybe confiding in someone about this, and then going home and then starting the next day with this new pressure. And so I can still do the day in the life in the Chapter 2, but in it, and I feel like it fits better as far as like flow of interest in the story. So that's kind of where I am with that. And then I was able to update some scenes in Act 1 so that it followed with this without being too repetitive. And then I was able to think through Act 2. Act 2 is where shit hits the fan, where the consequences of the log line of her photo activating happens. Her photo activates at the top of Act 2, and the fallout of that, like how does she react? I had to look up. So because of that, there's like it happening, the activation, and then also her panic. And I was like, well, she's an introvert. I know how I panic as an extrovert. So I had to Google like psychology articles, and I was like, introvert panic, introvert, you know, coping mechanisms, stuff like that. Like how would someone who is not super outwardly expressive panic? And luckily, since I'm telling this from her POV, it's still easy to like share her inner monologue of like, oh my fucking God, I'm going to investigate the fuck out of this. I need to do all I can and like not show, like, you know, put on a tough face type shit. And so yeah, I then brainstormed Act 2 where she hits the fan, and then we end Act 2 with her like having to make a decision. And then Act 3 begins with the fallout of that decision. And there's going to be a moderate resolution towards the end of Act 3 to set up Book 2. And yeah, that means I created a total plot grid. Actually, you have the chapter, you have the summary, you have the scene, and I had to then use the plot grid to update my outline. And now I am at a place where I have to rewrite Chapter 1. Like I had it colored in that I finished Chapter 1, but now that's my Chapter 2. So I still have to start Chapter 1 over. I know I've seen the advice of like, you don't have to write in order, you can just bounce around, da da da. And like, I feel that. I don't know if my brain works like that. I'm gonna still try to write in order as best I can, but if it does eventually feel out of sync with what I need, then I will go as I need to. As I said, no plan is a rule. Plans are just guidelines. And so now that I have the plot grid and I know the scenes, if I have a moment where I'm watching something or I'm in the middle of something and I think of how one of the scenes can play out, then sure, I'll go write it up. I'll go at least zero draft it in my outline. But as far as like how I'm approaching this, when I sit down to write today, I am going to try to continue Chapter 1. So those are all the updates I've done with the book, like my process from writing last month to where I am today. I have, like I said earlier, maybe 6,000 words written, and I am doing okay with my like daily routine. Like I have clarified so many of my goals throughout January, February. Like they've been very investigative. They have not been like, yeah, this is what my year's gonna look like. They've been like, this is what I think I want to do. Oh, well, like kind of months. And like I think that's real. So yeah, that's been the process so far. I think I will share maybe some scene level information from my plot grid, or at least show it to you when I get back. I am excited. I'm going to go to the breakfast spot. I hope they don't hate me. And then I'm going to go on my daily walk, and then we'll be back to write. It's 11. WPP starts at 4, so that's 5 hours to end the vlog, because I would like to be finished with the vlog before WPP, but if it has to carry over, it carries over. If this is an all-day thing, I'm okay with that. It's just not what I had in mind. So I also showed you my tracker for the way I'm tracking my writing progress. I said in the writing vlog that maybe I'm not only going to count prose as working on the novels, so then I've decided to color code each day of what I'm doing. Am I doing prose work? Am I outlining? Am I working on my characters, the world? And so pink is prose, and gray is outlining, purple is character work, and green is world building. So I've been doing all kinds of things. Most of this past week has been all of the outline updates that I just shared of me like, well, maybe this should be like that vibes. And so this coming week, this last week of February, I want to be more heavy on the prose, much less outline. I feel like my outlining is done. The world building is done, girl. We have no more procrastination left to do. It has not been procrastination. It's really just me trying to like set myself up, because this is my first novel, and just the way my brain works, I need a layer of foundation underneath me. I cannot just like wander around. That's just not the way my life has ever gone. And so even still, there's no more outlining I could possibly do for this book. So all that is left is to write the shit. So that's what we'll do. Just got back in from my walk, and I did a little reading of library while I was on it, and I think I'm like finally into the story. Like I was already into it, but I was a bit more confused for a while, but now I'm like, there's multiple plots happening. There's like a plot with, or maybe multiple POVs. Well, that's definitely true. There's definitely multiple POVs. Well, if it's third person, is that still multiple POV? We're getting like every chapter is someone's frame of view, so I'm going to say multiple POV even though it's third person, and because of that there are different subplots happening at once, and I'm finally at a place where I'm following along and I'm not as confused about like what. Now I get the at least 2 threads so far, so I'm enjoying this. But I also wanted to do a book haul separate from my TBR, because I am kind of in that current habit of excitement for writing and reading where I have so many goals. I want to really take writing seriously, so I have a shit ton, and I do mean I have a shit ton of craft books that I have been collecting. I bought half of these last year before I even had a novel idea. Like before I even knew I was going to be writing this year, I bought half of these because I thought they were more about, I was trying to become a better writer as far as like my work as a scientist. But turns out, because like I believe that math and science communication is storytelling, and we'll talk about that in my next video a bit more. But yeah, that was my primary motivation. And then once I realized I wanted to write this narrative, you know, this fiction novel, I was like, maybe I should buy a few more specific things. And then I got recommendations from people, and I also like was Googling things that I was having trouble with as I started drafting. So we'll go through these in just a second. And then also, I have been looking at the writer tube, author tube space, and as all spaces online, they're very white, and that just kind of is what it is. There was a reel recently where it's like, people love to say that certain niches are overpopulated, but I know that's not true for writing tube or author tube. And even still, people are like, oh, why does everyone want to do content creation? There are not nearly enough Black content creators for whatever thing you are interested in. Do you write poetry? Do you write books? Do you game? Do you vlog? Do you I don't know, cozy something. Like, I guarantee the amount of black people that do it and the amount of white people that do it are not equal. All right, and there is no shortage of black brilliance out there. It's more so about resources and access, but also visibility. And so yeah, I bring that up to say that there aren't a lot of black author tubers, and also because of that, there aren't a lot of black authors highlighted online when it comes to this writing stuff. I mean, no disrespect to the famous people like Brandon Sanderson and R.F. Kuang and all these other people, but they are not black, you know, and it's Black History Month still. It's February of me recording this, and a major part of my inspiration is authors like Octavia Butler and Audre Lorde and Maya Angelou and Zora Neale Hurston. I even have some of their words on my body. I have Zora Neale Hurston's words here on my shoulder. I have Octavia Butler's words on my hands. I am very, very inspired. I had to memorize hella Maya Angelou poems growing up, like what black girl didn't. So I'm very, very inspired by black authors just off principle, you know what I mean? And I want to bring that to my channel. I have several authors I actually intend on, black authors whose writing routines I want to practice, emulate, see how they inform and teach me throughout my journey. I've written a shit ton, and I'm still looking up like what their processes are before I can like record those videos. And also I need to like get in my own process enough before I can do those, so I'm not just ripping off theirs. But all that to say, I know these authors off of their reputation more than anything. I can't say with full honesty that I've read all of Octavia Butler's books, or that I've read every single Maya Angelou poem, or that I know every single black author's, you know, because there are many, aside from the greats that I've just named, there are many modern day popular black authors who have 4 or 5 star reads or 4 or 5 star books online that I have seen and I just never read. And so that piqued my interest on just wanting to not only be informed by like my personal interest reads, like I'm reading this because it is aligned with my novel themes. When I looked up inanimate objects coming to life, this book is about books coming to life. And so these things are kind of informed more by theme. So I have a shit ton of books that are thematically relevant to my novel. But as far as like craft and perspective and culture and grief and identity, like all of those themes are very much so present in anything by a black person, regardless of what you may think. And so I wanted to get some black author books as well. I have 2 Octavia Butler books that are still like on the way. They're supposed to be here tomorrow, I believe. So this is not all of them. And I believe there are also more in my room. Like everything in my room is I've not read. It was on this shelf. Top shelf is read, and then interspersed, some have been read, some have not. And so yeah, that's my preface for this haul. I am just motivated by wanting to write well, wanting to read well, because writing is thinking, but to be a better writer, you have to be a better reader. And that's just always something I've known, whether before I even started writing, because it opens your creative mind, it gets you into the flow of like wanting to write your own thing and exposes you to so much. So yeah, enough talking. Let's go through the black author books before we do the long list of craft books. Yeah? Okay. So name that came up a lot was Jesmyn Ward. A lot of her books have nearly 5 stars. So I have here Salvage the Bones, a National Book Award winner. All right. This book is based in Mississippi, and if you do not know, I am from Mississippi. So it was an automatic yes. Automatic yes. I think for each of these I'm just going to put a screenshot of the back blurb on the screen instead of reading them all, otherwise I will be talking for 30 minutes. So first we have Salvage the Bones, and when I will read these is still to be determined because I am updating my TBR accordingly. Like I already had my TBR, like I said, based on my book themes, and now I want to intersperse these along with the craft books. So there's a lot of reading in my futures. Then we have Brown Girl in the Ring, which seems so interesting. The rich and privileged have fled the city, and the inner city has become its own kind of world, and now they are harvesting bodies from inside the city, like rich feeding on the poor. And there's a young woman who is at the center of this, where she uncovers a lot. So Brown Girl in the Ring, I'm very excited by this, by Nalo Hopkinson, award-winning author of The New Moon's Arms and Midnight Robber. If you have read any of these books, please comment down below. Also, WPP has a lot of readers now, and many recs are in our Discord, so there's so many more to get. I honestly need to stop buying books. The amount of books I bought in the last 3 months is concerning, and I think once I get my Octavia Butler books, I will be done buying books for the year. Because I have so many books, there's no way I could read them all in this year. So I think I might be done after this. So you might not get any other hauls out of me, okay? Next we have Another Brooklyn by Jacqueline Woodson, another National Book Award winning author, okay? And this one is based around friendships, where it's like 2 women's lives, I believe, paralleling their different experiences. And considering that my book is about a loss of a friend and like the intimacy of friendship, I figured this would be a really great read along the themes of what I'm trying to make sure I'm capturing. So very interested in reading this, and it's the thinnest one I've bought, so excited about that. I then also have The Guild Stories by Jewelle Gomez, and I believe this is a queer vampire novel. It takes place in 1850s Louisiana, where Gilda escapes slavery and learns about freedom while working in a brothel. After being initiated into eternal life by 2 women there, she spends the next 200 years searching for a place to call home. An instant lesbian classic. When it was first published in 1991, The Guild Stories has endured as an auspiciously prescient book in its explorations of blackness, radical ecology, redefinitions of family, and the erotic potential of the vampire story. It was so high rated. I'm sorry, a lesbian vampire story based in Louisiana? I'm sold. I'm very sold. Very, very sold. Okay? And then the biggest book by far, and there are so many other NK Jemisin books I want to purchase. Also a very highly rated author. This one is The 5th Season, and this one just like piqued my interest the most based on what I normally read as far as fantasy and stuff. Hello, my locked sister, okay? I don't see a descriptor on the back of this one, but this one is the thickest one by far at nearly 500 pages, and I will have to insert the blurb, and this is also the start of a trilogy, I believe, and it is such an intriguing premise that I just can't wait to read it. I was talking with my brother as well about how we really want to see if there's different, dialects and things mentioned. Like, it's so important to infuse culture, I believe, in stories, and when people do like white or colorblind writing or casting or whatever, it can often strip the culture. But these are placed in like Louisiana, Mississippi, in the South, in Brooklyn, in places that are very black, with a lot of black influences, and I want to see how that is captured in these stories so that I can do something as effective in my own work. So also, oh my gosh, so I went very recently to a movie night with the BGSO, the Black Grad Student Organization, and the movie that was played was soundtrack to a Coup Detat. And I'm not even going to give you my full review, I'm going to insert it, but I just want to say that this movie changed my life. I shared it in our Discord, and I immediately was like, I need to watch that again. Unfortunately, it's on Prime, and I don't want to buy it on Prime because then you don't own it. So I bought the physical DVD, and I want to watch it again. I'm so excited to watch it again. I do own a DVD player. I have a DVD collection, in case you didn't know that. Long before the analog trend, I grew up in a family where we had cases of VHS tapes, cases of CDs, cases of DVDs. Like, before it became an online thing, people have been collecting things forever. So this is going in my DVD collection, but I have so much to say about how it has informed my story and opened my eyes to just so much. I recorded my feelings firstly off of watching it that night, and I'm going to insert that here because it was honestly so good. Holy shit, guys. I took my hair down. It was previously in a high bun, and I think it fit the outfit better, but when I decided to go outside, it seemed better to have the protection of the longer hair. But I don't even know what vlog I'm putting this in. Probably an insert into maybe a writing vlog or something. but I just need to get these feels out. I don't even have coherent thoughts. I'm still really digesting things and looking at media afterwards, but oh my gosh. Okay, I just got home from the second BGSO event of February. It was a movie night, and the elected movie was the soundtrack to a coup d'etat, and it was about the story of the Congolese fight for independence in the 1960s and 50s, and the ultimate assassination of independence leader and first prime minister Patrice Lumumba. And I don't know if it's my public school underfunded education in Mississippi, where I had gym teachers and social studies teachers, or the lack of importance on social studies in the way I was raised. I've always respected English and math and STEM, but like history and social studies, I'm not even gonna hold y'all. Not my bag. Not my bag at all. If you want to ask me dates, states names, and all the other shit, I'm clueless. You would think I had no education in that regard. And yeah, so that's to say, I didn't know any of this. I didn't know any of this, but it was so enthralling and so good. Admittedly, this movie is 2.5 hours long, and for the first, I'd say 30 minutes, I was mad confused. I was dead ass thinking like, am I not smart enough or knowledgeable enough when it comes to history to get this? Like, what is going on? But slowly, the artistic nature of it, yo, it's citations, it's archival footage, it's jazz music, and it's an editing masterpiece where, like, while things are happening, the overlays of the music or the jazz with the speeches and the writing, and it's enthralling, and it paints such a picture, and it's such a feat of storytelling. And I cried at the end because, you know, even though I didn't know what it was about, halfway through, you're not gonna kill this man. From the moment that they got their independence on June 30th, 1960, when he stood in front of all them white folks and said, y'all been treating us like I ain't even gonna paraphrase his words, because he basically was like, this moment is important because of this history of colonialism by y'all sitting right over there. We are free now, God bless, type shit. And then people were like, we're disappointed, we thought you'd be grateful, da 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 da. And from that moment on, it shows you how they plotted to murder him. And they did. The movie doesn't even tell you how he died, and so that's what I've been starting to look into on my way home. Like, okay, it's very obvious from those photos that they kidnapped him and that they perpetrated and orchestrated it, right? But what did they do to him? What did they do to him? I've seen the answer a little bit, but I need to know more, because what the fuck? And so I cried, yeah, at so many parts, because it is just a story of being black in this world. Anti-blackness is global. It is global. Every single country that is white leading in this history has felt like it has the right, the entitlement to take what others already have. This manifest destiny, it belongs to us. We were supposed to be, bro. It's fucking madness. And yeah, I didn't know this story, and there were so many moments that just spoke to me. Like, there was a quote about, we have to be brave enough to write our own stories. We cannot let the colonialist story be the only one. We have to give our own narratives. Y'all know I believe in that. I document fucking everything. And there was a moment where there was a quote that was like, we had a discussion after the movie, so some of my thoughts have evaporated, but like, seeing the music represent the times, and like the Nina Simone and the Maya Angelou, like people who really captured the moment and stood on business of what was really happening outside of their own personal interests, so inspiring. And something that I was talking with Flandria about leaving, like, I feel like I'm doing my part as far as like telling the stories of what's important to me, my life and my family and all of that, like making sure that this is part of the future archival footage of Black Mississippians, Black women, but also in the way that like Maya Angelou was part of the group of women that stormed the fucking UN, in the way that, you know, was that Louis Armstrong who had went there to Ghana, and the way that they was trying to like puppet him, and he was like, hey yo, I will leave this country and move here, like please, and just people really standing on business about the fact that like imperialism and colonialism is not something to just trifle with like mindlessly, that these are things we have to stand against. And how a lot of Malcolm X quotes about the way that, you know, as soon as you stand up for yourself, you are the problem. You're the problem, you're the extremist. The flotillas are terrorists because they're defending their homeland. I'm sorry, you coming to my home with guns to kill me, and I defend myself, and I am the terrorist, I am the extremist? Colonial propaganda! Ayo. Movie's phenomenal. So many thoughts, so many feelings, so many tears, because you just knew they was gonna kill this man. There's no way for people to be outspoken the way they are against these things, and the machine not do all they can, even if it take them a while, do all they can to silence these voices, which only speaks to the importance and the impact of said voices and why we need so many of them. I turned on my camera asking not even to just, you know, talk about how much I love the movie, but actually to talk about the way it has inspired some of my novel related thoughts, because yo, I'm writing a story about a young girl in her 20s coming from a family of documentarians, and how she is an archivist herself. Basically, she's a research historian uncovering a story through documents throughout the trilogy that is going to connect to her own personal history. And here I am watching a movie made entirely of archival footage and historical document citations telling the story of Black Congolese history. Like, hey yo, I was just thinking about it gives me such a clear picture of what my character is really doing, like the things she's seeing and the dots she would be connecting, and how these things would connect to her internal things. Like, I already had the general view of it, but now I have such a tangible view of what that looks like and how it would impact someone, you know. And to a certain extent, she's making a physical version, a still version of what this documentary was, in the way that like it pieced together all of these things to tell the story. And like it took the known story, took the pieces and made a fuller story, and that is what she is trying to do with, you know, her world, but also dealing with the grief of something major. R.I.P. Patrice Lumumba. Hello? I have so many things to say about, like, my mother's middle name is Patrice, and one of the well-known mayors in Mississippi that I grew up with was Chokwe Lumumba, and I didn't even know the historical significance of the name Lumumba. I just thought it was cool, and now I know that it's after such an incredible independence fighter. Like, yo, are you kidding me? The things that we're ignorant of, at least me, and just like the importance of telling this story from a Black woman's perspective, and how much I want to infuse Blackness into the story. I already have, in the way that, like, I've talked about stereotypes at work a little bit, and like side comments in her mind, and she has locks, she's a dark-skinned woman, and she's an introverted woman, so there's certain things that come with that, and just trying to really infuse Black womanhood, like a story of Black womanhood, identity, grief, family, is what this trilogy is supposed to be for me, and very obviously motivated by my own family, grief, etc. But like, she's not like me, I'm not an introvert, if you cannot tell. But also with just like the music of it all, and like sometimes the way they used silence, and it's such a masterful. I think it won the Oscar for Best Documentary of 2024. If it didn't, it should have. I know it was nominated. I think it won. I'm still doing my, like, you know, you enjoyed something when you start interviews, behind the scenes, reviews. That's what I'm in right now. That's the mode I'm in. I need to be editing, but I'm fired up from this, and it's part of my book. And so the scene I was actually writing earlier, my character she was turning on her vinyl, because vinyls do still exist in the future. In this story, there are just only certain things that don't. and have changed. And so technology is more or less the same, albeit probably a bit more advanced, but still like what we have access to, she would have access to. And I was trying to decide what vinyl she would pick up. And I originally thought like, okay, if she's in 2080, old music to her would probably be 2000s. But then I'm like, shit, this music is like 1950s, 40s, and it's amazing. And I'm like, would my character listen to that? Because if she's not, she should be. She should be. And so like, I already have a playlist in mind for her, like in a mood way, but now I'm like, I feel like I need to add a lot of the songs that I was just, you know, reminded or exposed to through this documentary to the vibe of the story, because it's very black. I want it to be very black, very real, very, you know, I want black girls to know that there's this phenomenon when we read things as black people where we see the character as a black person, and then there comes a detail where it's like, and then her blonde waves, and it's like, oh fuck, this story ain't about a black girl. Oh fuck, you know, like, but no, I don't want that moment to happen for my readers ever, ever, ever. I want you to know off rip, this is a black woman, and that to be carried through not just in the way that she's described, but in the way that she acts and moves. So much inspiration, such a good movie. I'm so happy that my vote lost. We voted, there were 5 options. I was like, I haven't seen Red Tails in a long time. I don't know these other ones. Luckily, you know, I was the only one who voted for that. So the other one won, and I'm so happy we watched it. I'm so happy I watched it. It's technically a documentary, and to be fair, I don't really watch documentaries. Someone recommended to me a documentary, in fact, last year, and I wish I had the screenshot, but I remember being like, oh, thanks, but I don't really watch those, and I would hate to like commit to it and then you ask me about it, so I'm just gonna be upfront and say I don't watch those, but thank you for thinking of me. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know, that's how I approached it. But like now I feel like, should I be watching more documentaries? Because there are quite a few things I don't know, especially historical things I am unaware of that I would perhaps be very interested to know, you know. Anyway, the hairstyle was mad cute with the high pony, you know, it was very cute. And man, I want to watch it again. I'm going to watch it again. I don't have the time in this day, but I've recommended into WPP. I have the photo, I have the memory. I'm documenting this moment for myself, and I will watch it again because, like I said, when I started, I was mad confused. I was like, do I not have enough history knowledge to intake this well enough? But I do, and I know now. And it's like with everything you rewatch with more knowledge, watching it again, I'm sure I will catch more from the start, and that will inform my viewing. So I'm here to say I've been inspired for my book. I know how my character moves. It has helped me solidify some of the themes in my story as a writer, and also I am moved to listen to this music and have my character be influenced by it as well. So watch soundtrack to a Coup Detat. Also, Free the Congo, still continually being mined for its resources, and death to colonialists and imperialists nationwide, globally, and free my people that look like me in every single country, every single state across the globe. They were starting the United States of Africa, man. They hate to see us doing good, bro. Assassinated Patrice, assassinated Malcolm, assassinated Martin. Oh my God. I've been watching YouTube videos and drinking a shit ton of water because I am not, and my period has been on, so I've been eating like shit all week under the excuse that my period is on. And I'm gonna be upset with myself next week when I feel it in my body, but I know how to get back right, you know what I mean? So anyway, I have no idea how long I've been talking, but phenomenal, 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 phenomenal. I do want to show the entirety of my outfit, but I can't seem to get my shoes in the shot. Can you see my shoes? Entirety of the outfit, and with the bun, I am an outfit repeater, so you will be seeing it again. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. I documented also to revisit it, because when I see myself in this footage, I'm gonna be like, ooh, ooh. So, yeah. I could rave about it even more right now, but I'm sure that that like 20 minutes of talking was more than enough to understand how much I love this movie. And I am feeling just very hyped and inspired in a multitude of ways, from the craft, from other writers, from documentaries now apparently, from, you know, my brother and my colleagues. Like, inspiration is everywhere. Just even walking around and being immersed in the world, looking at the way the trees are moving, looking at, you know, the world as landscapes. I've been so inspired lately. So I'm about to get ready to write. I do want to go ahead and actually run to the store to get some groceries real quick, because WPP starts in like basically an hour, and I need some groceries because once it's over I won't have time to do that. So I'm likely going to end up my writing tonight, which was not part of the plan. I was planning for it to be like a morning activity, but it is Sunday and it's Sunday reset day, and while writing is a non-negotiable, so is making sure I have a full week worth of productivity and not just one day. So we will get to writing. That's why we are here, holding each other accountable. But let me go to the grocery store, and when I come back we will be either in WPP or writing. Either way, I'll see you back in the house very soon. One minute till WPP, and I've calculated my grade for this past week. So that means I look at my habit tracker and I calculate percentages for each habit, and then I do an average for the week. And I got a 69% on the week. So I'm down from last week, but that is unsurprising given the emotional volatility of the week. So it's what it is, baby. It's what it is. You face your money, you're cheating. Ain't she sweet with this pussy he eating? Hello. Bow, bow, bow. So 2 minutes, okay. Hi friends. Do I have my volume up? I think I do. Okay. Happy Sunday. Oh. Wow, I just calculated my grade and I went down, so I'm not surprised. Heavy week, but what can you do? That looks so beautiful. I missed your faces. I think I will do it today. Is it turned up? Can we hear it well enough? Okay.
I'm Elizabeth and welcome to your class. We'll go ahead and start today's class. Whichever variation or modification you would like to take today. Just breathing here. Bending into the knees as you push it back. Exhale, forward fold, fold it on over.
Finished with WPP for the day. I am obsessed with WPP. In fact, I've already scheduled my WPP tattoo appointment. Our symbol, well, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but we have a symbol, and I updated the logo for 2024, I believe. So, but it's still the same kind of symbol. And so Tiana was joking at our Galentine's event about like, because Hannah had got a new cool ass unicorn tattoo in her arms, goals as fuck, but then started joking about like, ooh, so we got to get WPP tattoos. And I was like, oh well, as the hashtag founder, that's a brilliant idea. I can't believe I never thought of that. But we're 3 years in, definitely like real enough to get a tattoo for it, period. So I will be doing that soon. Appointment is scheduled. Anyway, now what I was going to say that my reset activity was doing my review of last week and then setting up my spread for this week. And so what I've been doing is dailies since December, and I do generally love them, but over the last month I've been filling them in less and less. And I actually would like to spend more time in my morning on writing than doing my bullet journal. So I'm going back to one of my favorite spreads. It's a lot simpler. Everything on one page, all the to-dos, habit tracking, events, everything on one page, so that I don't have to like think too much in the morning with this, but I can still check my to-do list in like a quick fashion. So I used to do weeklies all the time. I only recently got into dailies. So I'm gonna go back to this for this week and see how that helps me with like optimizing my morning routine. So right now I have put up all of my documents for writing, and I also kind of wanted to go through them. I will go through them on my phone though, and then I'm gonna write and then show you the plot grid, because I also want to eat. I think I'm gonna show you what all the documents I made, and then I'm gonna get me some food, because if I don't, there will be no dinner today. I have a folder in my Google Drive titled For My Trilogy, and these are all of the documents within it. So I have the manifestation physics all planned out with my links and resources for the inspiration. Like, it is based on real life things, but sort of magical, but like based in science, so like scientific magic. And then I have the outline document, which is exactly how it sounds. I'm considering if I want to turn my outline, or like copy it and create a zero draft separate from my working draft, because I have a scratch pad, but my scratch pad is more for my creative exercises that I showed. And then I have my working draft, as I said, and then I have my plot grid. And I was originally just going to have book 1 in it, but I realized there's sheets, so I can do the same setup. I copy it for book 2 and 3 whenever I get there. And then I have the project that Jade is assigned, the Veil 5. I have the full timeline mapped out, and when she's going to like understand or uncover things like in the timeline of things and in each book. So these are my documents, and I actually do pull all of them up just in case. I really only need the outline and working document, but lately I am still pulling up the plot grid because it has a bit more information than the outline, which is why I'm considering making a zero draft, because I have not understood what a zero draft is for some time, but one of the recent vlogs I watched kind of clarified it. What I've been doing with writing scenes now, right now I have scene, Jade is looking up prelim info and thinks about her family, right? And before I start just typing out pure thoughts, I've been going around, or I've been going in and saying like, Jade makes it back to her desk. She thinks about this. She then picks up this. She thinks about this. She feels this. Like, and I think that is what people are calling a zero draft. And then I would turn that into first person POV prose. But I don't know, maybe having all of this in the outline is too much. Like, maybe I should remove the detail from the outline and make it its own zero draft and keep the outline like bare bones, kind of like the plot grid. That way I can really go in depth. I suppose I could use my scratch pad for that, but I don't want to. I think I do want to make a new document, so there will be a new one probably by the next vlog you see. But yeah, this is my current like ecosystem for writing. And so what I want to do tonight is turn chapter 1's scenes into a zero draft, and then that'll be still part of my writing time, and then get as much prose in my time period. So it is 6:27, and I have been trying to like eat back in my overnight fasting window that I've talked about before, where I don't eat like super late into the day. If I do, I do, but I'm trying to get back on track. Different vlogs problem. So I want to go ahead and eat now, and then I will write. Because if I start writing, as I've told you, I will get sucked in 3 hours will have passed and I've not eaten steps. I've got nothing. So if I need to get my like to-dos done before getting into this, since I didn't start my day with it, which was something I also brought up earlier, of like figuring out which works best. I'm kind of just willing to do it whenever I fit it in, but as a routine gal, what I'm going to try to do the rest of this week is commit to it being a morning thing. But today, it is what it is, babe. We just gotta get it done. We just gotta get it done, okay? So, I'm very excited about it. Also, I'm really liking this hairstyle. I'm really loving my haircut. Anyway, let me not get sucked in like I'm feeling. I need to eat. I need to eat. I need to eat. Okay. it's actually been 45 minutes. Okay, longer than I meant to. I suppose that's a positive. Amen. Okay. So I went ahead and did what I kind of talked about before of making a new document that is a zero draft, and it's essentially just me writing everything in third person, but I feel way more connected to the intimacy of the first person past POV. So I only write in the zero draft today. I think that still counts as writing, and then I can always like transfer whenever I want to. But also my brother and I talked about like the pros and cons of third person, and so worst case scenario, I could just use the zero draft and like expand upon it. But I think what I showed earlier is what I'm going to do. And so what I've done in this 45 minutes, I zero drafted the first 3 scenes of my new chapter. I still have one more scene in chapter 1, and if I don't stop now, it'll be another like 10 minutes minimum of working on that. So very happy with this, very happy with this. Oh wow, I am proud to say I got in my minutes today. I pulled up my mood board on Pinterest for the novel that I made. It has archival photos, photos of the landscape of where she lives, pictures of her dog, the kind of dog she has, black girls having fun, doing archival things, all kind of researchy, surveillance related thoughts, grief related images, things like that. And so this is something I pull up every time I write. I also think I've told you before about my jade ring to connect to her, and I also put on a grief playlist to kind of get me in the vibe of writing about these things. And so yeah, this was a good writing session. I really felt like I was in the flow, just thinking of she would do this and then this and then this, and I just like the first person because it turns this into an embodied version. Like Jade deflects turns into I looked around for, and instead, well, you know, or just like showing up doing it, I feel like that feels more embodied. So I'm excited to do that maybe tomorrow, and tomorrow's 30 minutes. I did see, I've been following also writing Instagrams and not just writing vlogs. I created a writing Instagram, less so to post and become popular on, but whenever I have a passion, I understand that algorithms are tailored to what you want to see the most. And so for all of my interests, I have an Instagram board. I have a fitness Instagram, I have a writing Instagram now, I have a lock hair Instagram, I have a PhD productivity Instagram. There's also kind of the Productive People Club Instagram. And so I just have specific pages for my interests. And so I said that to say that one of the tips I saw on one of the pages I follow on my writing Instagram said that something they do whenever they start writing is they'll spend just 15 minutes kind of zero drafting basically the scene before they start doing it in flow or like thinking out what it'll be. And I feel like I've heard that in someone's vlog as well. So I like that approach, and that's been working for me. So before I shut down the computer though, I do want to show you my plot grid. I feel like it's okay to share. Like, let me make sure there is no spoilery information. I think it's straight. Okay, we're going to screen record. Let's move the camera just to show you what it looks like. So on the left side here, I have my outline document open, and then at the top there are a bunch of tabs here where my other world related tabs are. And then on the right hand side I have the working draft, the plot grid, and then in my Notion, before I put anything in Word docs, almost every single time I put it in Notion first in my iNotes page. So let's look through at least this top part of the plot grid here. So we have the chapter number, and then we have the title of the chapter as it stands currently. None of this is set in stone. And then I have the scenes, the purpose of each scene, the emotional shift of each scene, and also the start state, the end state, and a summary. And then I haven't totally filled in the what she learns and doesn't know part just yet. Okay, had to grab the mic because of the heater coming on. It got cold again. Irrelevant. Okay, so let's screen record again. New screen recording. All right, so as you see here, there's a title and the scenes. And what really motivated me to make this plot grid was really just the fact that as much as I enjoy my outline for being able to write in it, and maybe making the zero draft was a bit extra, but even still, I really have been enjoying it for being able to think in it basically about the book. But I wanted to be able to see things very concretely, like, do I have what I need in one chapter to set up the next? And I can't totally see that without hella scrolling in my outline, versus I can very easily see it here with like my frozen columns and stuff like that. So I can see, if you look at them side by side, information for 4 chapters in the plot grid versus just the 1 chapter in the outline. So that was like the motivation, so I could see a more summarized view and make sure I'm following the thread. And yeah, I am not following a particular number of scenes per chapter or page or word count. I'm really just going by what I feel like is the story. So we start with her getting the assignment. Oh, typo there. She's looking up information. She goes to dinner and she walks with her friend and her dog. And the purpose of each scene is to show her confidence, but also her cowardice, her mixed feelings around her family, and then her true feelings with her confidant, and then understand that she is indeed grieving, so that when we open chapter 2, my previous chapter 1, we deepen the thread of grief of like when she gets triggered at work, understanding that this is a major plot point that will come back later. And so then chapter 2 opens with her going to work now, and I will have to edit what is currently in chapter 2, because in chapter 2 before, it's written as if she's been working on this for a while, and I could maybe rephrase it as though this is what the work that's already been completed by her predecessor on the project, or I could rewrite it so that she's fresh eyes on this stuff and just kind of change the dates of what she's looking for, which wouldn't change it too much, How many times have I said, Okay. And then she's working on it. She's just a day in the life at work, really going into the whole archival fields of it all. I'll have to pull that there. So really the chapter 2 is more so the at work vibe with the flashback. And then chapter 3 is the at home vibe of, all right, she's off. This is her world. She's really unwinding. And so I'm liking that each chapter is in a different location so far. So the first chapter is her kind of at work, but not like totally engrossed in her tasks, and then like out in the world. And then chapter 2 is her like really doing her work. And then chapter 3 is her in her sanctuary. And then there's kind of a repeat of that for 4, 5, and 6, except we go to her family home. So I'm really trying to build out the world, the landscape of her life. So it's not totally like she's a recluse, she don't talk to anybody kind of vibe, but still highlighting her loneliness and her grief after losing someone so important. And also how uncomfortable she is with visibility, and how the way she was raised plays into that, and the way she was breaking out of that and has regressed in the progress she made. So yeah, I really fuck with this plot grid, and I am not going to show the rest of it, but I have filled out the scenes through Act 1 and 2. So I think the process is done, so I can take off my ring. It is 9:32. Wow, let's end the screen recording. And that's really all I wanted to share in this vlog today. Just all of the updates in my draft 1, what I've thought through, what I've made, what I'm working on, my kind of writing ecosystem of how this is being handled. I don't know what other people use. I've heard of Scrivener, but I don't know if they have as many tabs or things. Like, I'm not sure. So just sharing what has been working for me. In my mind, all of this is in one Google folder, but in whatever Google format I need. And I have my Notion, I have my board. I want to make my own playlist, and I want to turn a lot of the Word Bible into visualizations, which will be its own vlog for y'all. And for me, my goal for the end of 2026, if I'm shooting high, I feel like I could have a draft done if I'm like I don't know, being a super ambitious, but that's my like ideal me. I think my default me, the real me, I'm aiming to have up to Act 2 finished by the end of this book, by the end of this year. So that's up to chapter 18, and then aiming to be done with all 27 chapters by May of next year. That's my like hard deadline for finishing the full first draft, because as I've said before, full life, many things, but I don't want to sell myself short. So anytime between December and May of the new year, I feel like is when I would want to finish my full first draft, whether that's a 0 draft or a prose working draft. I'm pretty sure it'll be the prose draft. So I just feel like it might take me longer because of my process of like writing it out in third person and then turning it into first person. That is obviously going to be longer than if I just straight up was writing prose from out of nothing. So I'm okay if it takes longer. Like, I am in no rush. Like, I know it's already a long process, and I think that things of quality should not be timed. It's not a competition. I have nowhere that I'm trying to go like tomorrow. I would eventually like to publish this book, whatever that means, but I have my whole life to do that, and I also have many things I want to accomplish in the meantime along with this. So we have many videos to come. Thank you for spending this day with me. I need to finish my reset routine, choose my workout outfits, clean my room, etc., etc. I won't bore you with the details, but I will be seeing you in my very next video, I hope. And until then, make good choices. Bye, friend.